This is your Chargers linebacker, Daiyan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. This is your first time tuning in to the show. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Today's show, following the Monday night letdown against the Baltimore Ravens. Normally this show is called Chargers Unleashed. Today it is going to be called the Chargers Unleashed Therapy Session, because I will say this. Nobody can say that there are no fans out there for the Los Angeles Chargers. Why? Because there are some passionate fans out there. How do we know? Because following the Monday night loss against the Baltimore Ravens, the Chargers Unleashed hotline was busy. It was busy. It was full. It was full of a lot of emotion on top of it. And so through this, we're going to obviously, much like last week following the Bengals game, we did not want to have any of these voicemails go to waste. Want to obviously answer any questions that you guys have coming through this and try to temper down the emotions just a little bit. So by all means, take your shoes off, put your feet up, get on the couch, and let us try to bring down the temperature as it relates to the Los Angeles Chargers for you over this next hour or so. But Dan Wolkenstein, are you comfortable? Are you ready to share?
Look, I got a sweet Navy hoodie from the Chargers merch store.
I'm sure a lot of people right now would be telling you to take that thing off and throw it in the trash somewhere.
Well, we'll hear from some of these people on the voicemail, that's for sure. If folks are wanting to get into the Chargers Unleashed hotline action, again, leave your 30-second voicemails either prior, during, after the games with your instant reactions. Again, 30 seconds or less. 323-902-7586. Again, folks were going crazy on this one. Emotions were high. Jake, you said we're trying to bring down the temperature. I'm not sure these voicemails are going to let us.
Probably not going to be easy.
Prepare, Chargers fans. There might be some vulgarity in this one. There might be some emotions. There might be some things. Jake has not heard any of these. I have heard some. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'll play all these so we can listen to these live. And again, these voicemails will drive this show. Usually, Chargers fans will put in their comments and questions during a live show, and we'll kind of sprinkle those in. This will be the opposite. You will drive this one. We'll go through voicemails and kind of give our feedback as voicemails goes through. Jake, before we get to the voicemails and our feelings after a Chargers primetime letdown in front of 75% Chargers fans at SoFi, me being one of them, let's talk about our friends over at BetOnline.
I want to remind everybody that BetOnline is your world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of up to $200K. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker or on one with one of our 150 slot games. Head on over to the website today. That's betonline.ag to get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here.
All right, Chargers fans, get on that couch, feet up, head up, therapy session.
I feel like we need some like incense burning or some like, sleep sounds. Yeah, something like that just to, properly set the mood for this. It's going to be like a perfect dichotomy to be like, Enya's playing in the background and then whatever the hell this first voicemail is going to drop. I could just imagine the emotion that's going to be coming out of it. And then Dan and I, through all this, have to dissect the voicemail a little bit. This will encompass recapping some of the events of the Monday Night Football game. And let's just try to get through it. I know a lot of us are already in Atlanta Falcons mode, and I know we're in a short week already. We have the holidays coming up. I promise you, Dan and I are going to get the preview episode for that out later this week. But again, we still need to cater to all of the emotions of this fan base right now.
Yes. So, Chargers fans, tell me how that makes you feel.
Make sure
voicemail.
Make sure you have your notebook ready, Dan.
First voicemail. Let's hear how this one. Let's set the stage, Jake. Let's hear pregame.
It's pregame.
Okay.
Oh.
I got
Hold on.
Dan Wolkenstein. Okay. I got to say this. This is a fear. I do not like how you are lately regarding the Chargers.
Oh, this should be good.
Okay? I think it would be a good idea to be.
What's the idea, Jake? What's your guess?
He's going to tell you, I'm going to just imagine that he's going to tell you that you need to get right, that you need to put your optimistic hat on, that you need to go back to the Dan Wolkenstein that was on this show for the better part of 3.5 years and start rooting for this damn team.
From a Broncos fan or maybe a Chiefs fan the rest of the year. Because you have so little faith about this team.
This is pregame.
I would like to have Mr. Jake Hefner reach out to your family, and we are going to change your name. You're no longer going to be called Dan Wolkenstein. You are going to be called Darth Vader. Because you are Darth Vader, my baby. I still love you. Go Bolts.
Wow, what a hook, by the way. You are Darth Vader. Be a Chiefs Broncos fan. I still love you, my baby.
Darth Vader. That was much worse than I thought. I thought he was just going to try to set you straight. No, he's kicking you to the curb. This is pregame. This is pregame. The game hasn't even been played at this point from when that voicemail came in.
If I remember right, I'm pretty sure Athir had like a 35-14 type of prediction.
He had a Chargers ass kicking for this game. And I remember when he gave that score, and I was like, this team averages 30 points a game, and that is precisely what they put up in the final score. We'll get through all the problems. Again, this is quite a different voicemail to dissect, but Dan, when we do our next live show talking about the Atlanta Falcons, first of all, I know Athir is going to be there because he's always in there and he always has something to say. You may have to clutch your Chargers card pretty heavy and come back with a retort. Look, I'll admit, I know you haven't been the most optimistic, at least in as far as, history shows and what you have been through our partnership on this show for the better part of the 5 years that we've been doing it. But Dan Wolkenstein, it's actually a little bit more gratifying to me because it shows me what I was like for the better part of 3.5 years. And yes, there is a fine line that you could ride between being overly optimistic and being realistic at the same time. You can wear both hats. That is possible. So I think you're one of the most passionate Chargers fans that's out there, but Dan Wolkenstein may have to talk to you later on this week.
I'll talk to you a little bit right now, Theo.
Okay, not wasting any time.
When we were going into our predictions in this game last episode, I talked to you about how painful this was for me to go into my predictions. And I had to battle between head and my heart. Everything in my head was screaming, Ravens are winning this game. But my heart and all the Chargers fans in the chat and all my emotions got the best of me, and I let my heart prevail, and I predicted the Chargers to win. This year, for the most part, I have gone with what my head has said more so than what my heart has said, and it burned me one last time on this Chargers versus Ravens game. It was feeling good there at 10-0. And then kind of the wheels fell off.
Until it wasn't.
John Harbaugh went crazy with the fourth down. We'll get into some of that as we go through. But Athir, I apologize, but if we're being honest here, Athir, you dear, we're wrong. The Chargers got beat, and my heart was also wrong, but my head was right. Jake, voicemail number 2. Here we go. We're going to kind of roll through these because there's a lot.
I'm calling it a 2-minute warning.
Oh boy.
Man, it's a tough game. It's a tough one to swallow. So that sucks. I'm going to be pissed at our fan base for next week because they're going to fault Q again. I love that when that happens.
They're going to what, Q?
I didn't actually catch it, to be honest.
Fault Q. That's what he said.
Fault Q.
Okay.
False Q.
So before it happens, I'm just going to finish this game and see what happens. Both up.
Okay. When he said the 2-minute warning, I thought that was going to be a lot worse than what it was. Look, I'm probably going to repeat this same type of sentence throughout the duration of this show, especially just based off of the voicemails that are going to be coming in. Look, Chargers got beat by a damn good football team.
Yep.
I know everybody is pissed off at that. I know everybody is pissed off from the standpoint of, everybody showing up and how they've won, and they just weren't able to get their game going. Like, also have to remember, and this is what bothered me about this game, was Ravens were coming in after a game in which they made so many uncharacteristic mistakes.
The week prior
To Pittsburgh losing that game, Pittsburgh beating them without even half to scoring a touchdown. You had Justin Tucker, who had missed 2 kicks. You had dropped passes on their end. You had turnovers that were very uncharacteristic of the Ravens, because Lamar Jackson has only 3 touchdowns in the season. They only ran Derrick Henry 13 times that week against Pittsburgh. You knew that they weren't going to make those mistakes again. And on top of their game plan, which has been their game plan that's brought them their record for the duration of the season, they lived in 3rd and short and 4th and short for the variety of game. That's where the Chargers should have been living. And that's usually the game plan that they want to execute. Unfortunately, the Ravens executed their game plan a lot better. John Harbaugh had some balls to go for it on his own 16-yard line on that 4th down conversion. And they were perfect on all of their 4th down conversions. And anything that was 3rd and short was easy for them to convert. And they scored on 5 consecutive drives throughout that game. And that's one of those type of situations where you haven't really seen the Chargers have to face that yet in a shootout type of situation where it needs to be a score every single possession. And especially when J.K. Dobbins went down, that changed the game, because
MCL sprain, as we heard today.
They just really couldn't sit back and rely on the run game in the second half. It had to be Justin Herbert, which in turn made the offense a little bit more predictable, made the defense easier to cover. And by all means, the defense, who has given up the most passing yards per game this season, they didn't look like it because they played tight. They didn't give up any easy yards to any of the Chargers receivers, maybe outside of that first scoring drive that they had. And they made the adjustments. And look, it's as Jim Harbaugh said today during his press conference, own it, fix it, get it right. The Chargers still have a 7-4 record, are still sitting pretty percentage-wise for the playoffs as it currently stands right now. Move on to the next one, and let's find a way to forget it.
Yeah, a couple things. He called a 2-minute warning, so the game wasn't over yet, but it was by all intents and purposes over at that point. You give credit where credit is due. That is a very good Super Bowl contending team. Arguably, they should have been in the Super Bowl last year. They laid a stinker the previous week, had a couple this year, but I don't think anyone would argue that is not a better team than the Chargers. And they were having to punch up their weight class to try to get a victory there. And for a while, they were. A couple key things, in my opinion, as we get to the next voicemail here, Jake. One, Chargers fans, and I was in attendance. First off, shout out Chargers fans. 75% Chargers fans. That atmosphere was absolutely incredible. The best fan base experience I've seen since SoFi for the Chargers fans out there. Chargers were up 10-7, late second quarter. Chargers defense makes a stop at their own 16-yard line, of the Ravens' own 16-yard line, to set up a 4th and 1. Ravens are about to punt. They're about to try to draw Chargers offsides, doing a fake snap. Chargers defense doesn't move, doesn't budge. Chargers fans going crazy. The whole stadium's going nuts. Chargers fans are on the brink of going crazy because they just got to stop. Chargers get the ball back with a chance to go up double digits. John Harbaugh from his own 16-yard line goes for it. And almost doesn't get it, but goes for it and gets it. 90-something plays later, 90-something yards later, touchdown. Now, thankfully, Chargers go back in like 20 seconds to get a late second half field goal. But that's 10, 14-point swing right there. And the Chargers defense, a lot of people were flaming the Chargers defense, and I get it. If you look at the final box score, look what Derrick Henry did and all that jazz, I get it. But if you look at the context, there was that 4th down drive where the Chargers defense stopped them early in the late second half, and then they get the 4th down, convert it, go 80 more yards for a touchdown. That's 7 points. Then on another drive, Chargers defense is like 14 plays. They have to go through 2 fourth down attempts in the same series, give those up, another 7 points. The Chargers defense is hanging in there. This is like a bend but not break, but John Harbaugh just let it all hang out. And he went out there and tried to take this game by any means necessary. And he did. Now, did the Chargers gladly oblige and give away some things? Sure. We're going to talk about some of that. But that voicemail, Jake, he says Chargers fans are going to fault Quinton Johnston for this. Let's be real. Quinton Johnston, 5 targets, 0 catches. Brutal drop on shades of Michigan versus TCU. And it was unfortunate. By the end of it, he had a couple more drops at the end of the game. You started hearing boos at SoFi, which is really sad. But I get it. Chargers fans are frustrated. Still shouldn't boo your own players. Tough day in the office for Q. And this one's going to linger. There's no doubt about it. Is he the main reason they lost? No, he's a reason for sure. That was a huge drop that he had, and that could have arguably gone for a massive gain had he caught that on 3rd down. He knows it. The team knows it. But let's be a better fan base than just come out of the woodworks and clown on a guy who's doing terrible and then just quiet when he's doing well. Okay? Jake, one more thing on the Q thing. We'll get to the next voicemail. What do you think?
I was just gonna say, look, it's we've lauded the progress of Quentin Johnston on this show. I think Sanjay Lal has done a great job with what he has turned him into. This is what happens when you actually have a coaching staff that plays to your wide receiver's strengths. So I'm just merely talking about his development since the beginning of this season. And we will be strong in that support for it, especially when he deserves it. But Dan and I will still also be real when criticism is warranted. And having a game like that in certain situations, especially when we're talking about a few plays downfield, wide open on the 3rd down side that could have made a huge conversion for a drive, those were crucial drops. And he was in his head about it after that first one, after that second one, and it just kept getting worse. It was not a good day for Quentin Johnston. However, I have to applaud, to the greatest extent, the answer from Justin Herbert as it related to that question. Yep. Because neither Dan, myself, nor anybody else in that locker room, anybody else that's listening, is going to feel worse than Quentin Johnston after that. If you remember some of the quotes that he had said when he came back from his injury early in the season and he had his first 100-yard game and a touchdown on top of that, I remember his quote after the game when he said, I felt like I let the team down because I wasn't out there, and I felt like I owed it back to them because I needed to make up time missed. If that's still his mentality, and I believe that it is, then I would expect a much better game from him against the Atlanta Falcons and moving forward. Everybody has these type of games. I don't care what type of player you are. I understand the moment. I understand the situation. I understand when it's one of those, go out and make a play and you have a game performance like that. It's debilitating. It's crippling for your offense. And people can point fingers all they want at Quentin Johnston, and in this particular circumstance, there is weight served for that, but nobody is going to be more dejected than he is. Truly. Let's just be real. If you put yourself in Quentin Johnston's shoes, nobody would feel worse than you are. So I applaud the response from Justin Herbert on that, and even today from Jim Harbaugh on that, to say, look, just as they're doing with this game in general, own it, fix it, move forward, let's go to work.
More discussion, I'm sure, on Q as the voicemails come through. Next one.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matthew. I'm from Vegas, and not a great game tonight. It was a tough loss, very tough. First half was good. Then the second half, it just was was bad because of J.K. Dobbins getting hurt, and most importantly, that 3rd and 6, QJ dropped it. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I can't trust. I don't know, how should we feel about QJ? I mean, what should we do in this process? You know, should we keep leaving him? Because I don't know. But this is, and especially Josh Palmer, I don't know. We definitely need a wide receiver. I mean, I don't know. This year's it's tough. You know, these wide receivers, we thought they were good, but at the same time, it's like in these situations like this, it's not looking like good. So let me know what you guys think. What do we need to do with these wide receivers?
Dan, I feel like we're right back to the post game after the Arizona game. That game collectively for the Chargers was bad. You're talking about 7 drops from a multitude of different wide receivers in that game. Everybody calling for the weapons that Justin Herbert needs. Like, look, there's nobody else that's coming through that door outside of when the day comes that DJ Chark may actually set foot on the field, whenever Brenden Rice may come off IR and be active and maybe part of this wide receiving group. But there's nobody coming through the door as it relates to this year.
There could have been.
There could have been, sure. I'm just saying.
I get why some folks are frustrated.
I'm just saying, as it currently stands right now, nobody else is coming through that door.
Yep.
And still, for everybody who wants to say that Justin Herbert needs weapons, well, that same group of weapons also has won you 7 games this year. Let's not forget that. Remember the days of New England.
But have they?
Well,
have they won because of them, or
it's among other things? Surely, I'm not going to take away any credit from the defense.
No. But I'm saying, like, have they won because of those weapons, or have they won in spite of not having those weapons?
I think it's a little bit of both. You could say in critical situations, you look at the Ladd McConkey game against Cincinnati. That was huge. Quinton Johnston before DJ Turner essentially negated 3 deep passes to him. Quinton Johnston was looking great in that particular game. I think how they've elevated Will Dissly, who was supposed to be a strictly blocking tight end and essentially has just felt like the only tight end on this roster, given the fact that Hayden Hurst is now being put on IR and we barely have seen a lick of him this season. It could be both, because to me, I get similar type of feels as the early New England Patriots when Tom Brady didn't have the Randy Mosses or the Wes Welkers or the Julian Edelmans or the Gronkowskis way before that. I feel like it is more of a testament to what Justin Herbert is doing with what many regarded as the weakest wide receiver class.
Now we're getting there,
in the entire league. And yet here they are in playoff contention. I think it's with an 86% chance today of still making the playoffs, and you're 7-4. And you still are in good position to close out the season the way that Justin Herbert is playing. I get what everybody's saying just in terms of eventually down the line, this is going to need some improvement. You're going to do that there. There's question marks as it relates to this wide receiving core in terms of what it's going to look like today as opposed to what it's going to look like in 2024. But
2025.
2025, excuse me. But in terms of how you build up a player's confidence, how you build up players' rapport,
totally.
You can't just say, you had a terrible game, get your ass on the bench. That's just not how it's done.
But the question, but I think that where Chargers fans are frustrated, and I'm speaking for them, and if I'm out of turn, let me know, fans, in the comments. It's not just one game. I'm taking on their persona for a second. It's not
Correct.
just one game. We saw it all last year. Sure, he's improved this year, but then this happens again. We can't keep letting games slip away because we keep relying on this guy who sometimes he's improved, but what was the floor? And realistically, how much can we actually expect? That's the vibe.
Yes. I'm not trying to, I don't want this to be misconstrued. I'm not trying to give Quinton Johnston a pass or take away anything from what took place on Monday night or the games prior.
Well, then real quick, then what would you do? Like if you're coach Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, tactically, what are you doing with your wide receiving core right now, given what just happened or what you've seen?
Coach it and go right back to him. First of all, you have to help him. Outside of him helping himself, you have to also help him build his confidence back after a game like that.
But see, and that was the hard part, though, was watching that game. There's one thing to be said about the go balls, which you and I both talked about. Like, Why are we doing this?
Yes.
This is not his game. But then they were throwing to him, which was kind of his game. They gave him that drag route.
Yes.
They gave him those kind of stop routes, the out route. Those are the things that, like, okay, if all else fails, that's what at least he can do those.
Yes.
And even those weren't working. So, like, is this, hey, we got to earn our reps, and he's still practicing better than DJ Chark and Brenden Rice and whatever? Or is it like, look, are you just going to keep rolling with this?
You're going to, like I say, it's more so based off of who's on your roster. There's nobody that is currently on this roster that's going to come in and overtake Quinton Johnston's spot. So let's
why not?
Be real about that.
Why not? Why wouldn't Brenden Rice? Why wouldn't DJ Chark?
Well, if the reasons why Brenden Rice hasn't seen the field, I think there's more to it than that, for the fact that we've been waiting for him to see some type of action, and yet it hasn't happened. And the only time that he was on there, it was a miscommunication. They had to call a timeout, and he hasn't seen the field since.
What's worse, that or a drop?
When the day comes where DJ Chark actually sets foot on the field, we'll have a different conversation. But we've essentially been talking about DJ Chark's return for the past 3 weeks, and him even still being healthy and active, and it still hasn't happened yet. If I actually had something to weigh that against, I could actually have a better argument for that. And I'm sure when the day comes when he does come back, that those go balls that you're talking about will strictly go to him based on how you're going to have your wide receiver formation.
Well, let's just assume DJ Chark is healthy.
Okay. But
right now are you saying stay the course?
I'm saying stay the course. Okay. And I'm strictly saying this from a teammate and a coaching perspective.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm pushing back a little bit because I think this is what people are kind of trying to.
And I'm fine to answer that. You're asking the question: how do you regain trust in Quinton Johnston? How do you fix these issues?
No. But that's not what I'm asking. Like, if you're the coaching staff trying to win games,
yes.
Do you do it by trying to instill trust and get back QJ and give it back to him and whatever, or do you do it by, like, we got to figure this out, figure that part out later, let's bring someone else?
Look, he's obviously not your number one. Okay, that is Ladd McConkey as it currently stands right now. We can all understand that. But you're still going to be throwing him the ball. If Justin Herbert sees he's open, he's still going to throw him the ball. He's not going to have any doubt or trepidation to do that. Mm-hmm. And he's going to have confidence that he's going to come down and catches it. Now, whether or not that pass ends up getting complete, that's on Quinton Johnston at that point. But that's not how you go about building a team like this. That's not how you go about developing a wide receiver that has had a very up and down route of development that Quinton Johnston has had thus far. I understand everybody's questions and issues about it. But currently, as it stands right now, there's nobody that is going to be coming in to take his spot out of this wide receiver group. So it's much like the pass that that Justin Herbert threw to Quinton Johnston. And then when they did the replay of it, Joshua Palmer was right there and was wide open in the flat. Justin Herbert would probably obviously want that one back. But it would be no different, because if Justin Herbert sees that you're going to be open, regardless of what the name says on the back of your jersey, he's going to put it there for you. So Quinton Johnston's going to get his opportunities moving forward. And hopefully, based off of this performance, he's going to be able to just put that away, fix it, and have a much better performance moving forward. That's all you can ask for at this point in the season.
I think Chargers fans are, not all of them, but I think there's a subset of Chargers fans that are like saying, if he needs development on the practice squad, develop him in practice. But come game time, we got to win games. This isn't to develop him. So whether it's throw to somebody else, whether it's run, whether it's whatever, do something else, I think is what some of the pleas are. Next voicemail. There's a lot here.
Yo, this is Xavier from San Antonio, Texas. And my instant reaction is these Navy jerseys got to go. They're cursed. Both up.
Dan, take that shirt off. Wrong. Take that shirt off, Dan. You're wearing that Navy stuff. Get it out of here.
It's not a jersey.
It's still Navy color. I don't think anybody wants to see a Navy color print on any Chargers helmet, pant, or jersey ever again after that.
Are they 0-6 in those jerseys now?
0-6.
At this point, honestly, if I was Jim Harbaugh, I'd like, screw it. I want those jerseys every week until they win. You're not going 0-17.
I mean, it's kind of the reverse, because remember how good the Chargers were back in the days in their powder blues, and there was a time when they were undefeated in them, And everybody's like, just have them wear those every single game. I'm as much of a superstitious person as anybody out there. I 100% believe it. But at the end of the day, the color of the jersey ain't changing the name and it ain't changing the number. And you still got to go out there and perform. So they're going to wear these jerseys again eventually. And hopefully you're going to have a much better performance and get your first win in those jerseys. But I actually don't think that we will see these jerseys again the rest of the season.
As of now, no.
So nobody should have anything to worry about anymore. It's gone. It's done. I get it. Hopefully, whenever that game is next year, it's not against the Baltimore Ravens. It's not on Monday Night Football. And whenever they have those jerseys, they get a win.
Chargers Unleashed hotline keeps rolling. 323-902-7586. Next voicemail, Jake.
Hey, guys. Big fan of the show from San Diego, California. I just finished watching the Ravens game, and oof. So my question to you guys would be, what is it you think the coaching staff is seeing from these receivers in practice? Because obviously as fans, we only see what we see on TV, but I think it's kind of obvious that most of these receivers can't really play in the National Football League in starting roles, apart from Ladd McConkey. Where's DJ Chark? Where is these other rookies? Like, I don't get it. I love Quinton Johnston as a person. He's a great kid, but the dude is not meant to play in a starting role. What are your thoughts? What is the coaching staff seeing? And look forward to seeing you in the next show.
First of all, appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling in. Okay. So we piggybacking off of what we had just said on Quentin Johnston. Let's just set that aside for a second. We all know what Ladd McConkey's about and how much he's contributed already to this team. There were a lot of looks Joshua Palmer's way. There were opportunities for him to make a catch. There were others that were clearly a penalty. And then they picked the penalty flag up. I still think that there's great chemistry between Justin Herbert and Joshua Palmer, and I think that there has been over the last few years, especially when he had to step up in the times where Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were injured. I think that there is still chemistry there. Do I think that he's been kind of unseated as the number one receiver of this group? Yes, I think Ladd has come in and earned that trust and rapport with Justin Herbert, and you see the way that he gains separation out there in the middle of the field. He does it better. Will Dissly becoming a surprising receiving option in this group. On top of that, Jim Harbaugh still wants to play Jim Harbaugh's game. So you're still going to see a bulk of runs go to, whether it was J.K. Dobbins at the time, or if it's going to be Gus Edwards moving forward, most likely for this upcoming Atlanta game. We'll see what takes place with Kimani Vidal and him being elevated. I would like to see him get an opportunity because in terms of explosiveness, I think he can add that similar type of element that J.K. Dobbins has in that particular aspect of the game. But look, there was a reason why people criticized this wide receiver group in general heading into the season. There was no surprise here. You know, Simi Fehoko obviously going down. I'm not sure if anybody saw the Instagram post, but he showed a picture of his elbow. I guess that he actually had dislocated it and torn some other ligaments in it. So unfortunately, you haven't had him out there for some time. Everybody's been waiting, Dan and myself included, to see Brenden Rice set foot on this field. Jalen Reagor has not really added much to this group. And Darius Davis, as much as Dan has been harping on it to get him more in the offense, you know what Darius Davis is about. So I don't believe that the coaching staff has this, bulk of package routes for him to run throughout the game. They know what he's good at, and they're going to try to get him in a situation where they can use his speed. And that's where you see most of his routes coming on end arounds or being utilized mostly in the return game. So it's tough sledding. And maybe this just goes to show how good of a season Justin Herbert is having, given the fact of what this group is like.
Yeah. Voicemail was about playmakers.
Yes.
And weapons for the Chargers quarterback. Ladd McConkey and Will Dissly combined for 10 targets, hauled in all 10 targets, 10 receptions for $130. All other pass catchers in that game.
Oof.
26 total targets combined, just 11 catches for a whopping 84 yards. 15 incompletions, 11 catches. Justin Herbert has two guys that he trusts and that are delivering for him play after play after play, and that's Will Dissly and Ladd McConkey. Both, in my opinion, are playing out of position. Will Dissly should not be your tight end one pass catching option.
But he's doing a good job at it.
Ladd McConkey should not be your wide receiver one.
But he's doing a good job at it.
In an ideal state. They are rising to the occasion. Sure. Kind of being forced to, in my opinion. Josh Palmer, 3 receptions on 8 targets. Granted, he got a couple of defensive pass interferences. You'll take. There were some big misses there. Jalen Reagor had a couple actually pretty good catches. Also had a really important drop early in the game on 3rd down. We already talked about Quinton Johnston for a bit. Darius Davis, sure, they know what they have. In my opinion, though, like, this is what I don't get. If I'm doing go balls, throw it to Reagor, throw it to Davis, throw it to Palmer, or throw it to McConkey. Like, all these guys got jets. Try it. They're literally not trying it. The one time they did it to Reagor for a go ball, he caught it, then fumbled, but still. And they haven't done it for Darius Davis.
I mean, Dan, if you also follow just how that game went, and this goes to Baltimore, this is where you have to tip their cap to them, because again, they were not allowing anything easy after those first 2 drives to the Chargers wide receivers.
They were all over them.
There was virtually nothing that Justin Herbert could throw downfield that he had time for, because the pass rush was coming and the coverage was tight throughout the rest of the secondary. And even when it was tight, you ended up getting an incomplete, and sometimes there was a pass interference, and other times the flag was picked up. But they did not give Justin Herbert anything easy. And maybe that's where the influx of this conversation comes into play to say, oh, well, you need, better people so they can get separations, which
playmakers make plays.
I totally get that.
And that's what I think what people are, do they have the playmakers? And I would say the answer is no.
No, I would say that there could be a lot better of, you could have a lot better wide receiving core. Sure.
Especially when your RB1 is out. Like, remember, this is a Greg Roman offense. They're supposed to be balanced. They're supposed to be a run-heavy team. Your horse is gone. You're going up against the Baltimore interior where the run defense is stout. And J.K. Dobbins was actually doing pretty well prior to that injury. So you're down your running game, which you're kind of needing to rely on. Then you get down to the game. Like, it's a recipe for disaster. And that was a recipe for disaster for that team. Like, ideally, you don't need to have to rely on that many weapons to come through, because you got to balance the offense. Your defense is balling.
Correct.
And you're winning 21-10.
Yeah. Chargers were just out of their game after the Ravens came back and took the lead.
Yep. So, yeah, could they use more weapons? Absolutely. But also put in context, this is year 1 of a rebuild, retool, whatever word you want to use. And yes, are there still holes to fill? Absolutely. But think about the volume of holes that this roster needed to be fixed. Like, it was insane.
Huge number.
So, like, let's put this in perspective. Again, they're 7-4, 80+% win percentage or likelihood of getting to the playoffs. 2 games or more clear of the 8 seed, if you will. It's all in front of them. They still have some should-be wins on their schedule. Multiple. So, like, put it in its proper place. They got beat by the better team. Sure. Did they screw themselves over a few times? Absolutely. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. But Baltimore played largely mistake-free and aggressive football, and they were rewarded for it. Chargers did not. Period. Next voicemail.
Why is it that we suck so bad in this?
There we go. Here we go. This is what I was waiting for the whole time. This is the type of voicemail I expected to come on first.
Second half of the game, we were down by 1 point. 1 point, not that much. And we piss it down our leg like an incontinent 80-year-old at a retirement home. Are you serious? And QJ can't catch a ball. He can't catch the bubonic plague, which good for him, but not good for the fucking football. It's not that Herbert was throwing the fucking ball like a zigzag pitch from backyard baseball. No, it was right through the hands. Oh my gosh. I didn't think we were going to win the game. However, we should have been closer than this. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed if they even had a frickin' lifetime supply of toilet paper. It's just, these guys need to get back on next week, face the Falcons. This is ridiculous. Herbert playing hero ball, no run game. We're back to where we were last year, a little bit at least. Stupid. Why is it that we...
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but
great. Look, I fully understand the frustration. That was a big game, AFC conference matchup, two teams vying for the playoffs. I will say this. I don't even feel close to what the Chargers were previously.
They're 7-4.
Not even a little bit.
Come on.
I will say that. So need to be a little bit more optimistic than that just moving forward. Don't be who I used to be. But I had a reason to be that way because I wasn't seeing any change under previous coaching regimes. Right now, with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, did they get exposed in certain fashions? Yes. Maybe there was a little bit too much talk from Dan and I talking about how the Ravens weren't going to have Roquan Smith for this game as opposed to the Chargers not having Denzel Perryman for this game because that ended up being a huge factor for the Chargers. Remember, they were already down Junior Colson come this game. He's eligible to come off IR soon, but then you go down Denzel Perryman, who's arguably your best run blocking or run stopping linebacker. They were rotating in different packages between Troy Dye and Nick Neiman throughout the game. They just got owned in the trenches by a simple formula. And when you live in third down and short, the way that the Baltimore Ravens did, let's just not forget who you're playing. You're playing a former two-time MVP and a running back that is going to go into the Hall of Fame. And they play on the same team and live in the same backfield. And John Harbaugh, as we have seen a lot of times this season, creates just absolute nightmares for defenses to have to worry about. It's not like the Chargers shit the bed against a bad opponent. This was a good football team that they went up against. So, yes, I understand the disappointment in the loss. I understand considering the fact when it was, 14-13, that you felt still good going into halftime with that score. Even with the Chargers coming back and answering and still keeping it a 1-point game through the beginning of the third quarter, you still felt good about it. You were like, one scoring drive or one touchdown could just change the entirety of the momentum. But the Ravens just kept a simple formula, and they ran it and they ran it and they ran it until they kept running it until the Chargers, until the Chargers wanted to show them that they were capable of stopping it. And just unfortunately, it was not the Chargers' night.
Yeah, John Harbaugh was in his bag. He went for it. Again, like you give credit to him and that football team for going for it on fourth down when they did. 3 straight times they go for it on a fourth down, questionable, especially the one on their own, 16-yard
line. Yeah.
That's shades of Brandon Staley era. Imagine if he didn't get that, though. But, that's not the world we live in.
Right.
Second half points, though, like in the voicemail. Jake. Number 27 in the NFL is Atlanta. No, is Atlanta at 8.5 points per game. 29 is Carolina at 8.5. 30 is the Chargers at 8.4. 31 is the Giants at 8.1. And 32 is the Titans. They are third worst second half scoring team in the NFL. And it'd be worse if they didn't get that garbage touchdown at the end of the game. Otherwise, they were sitting at 3 points.
I'll end it with this. Just try to have some optimism for it. The reason that I feel optimistic moving forward is that when you look at when the Chargers have lost a game, you go back to the Arizona game and the debacle that was and all the issues that the Chargers were happening, they responded. You look at the bye week coming off of their 2 losses that they had to Pittsburgh and Kansas City, and that was when they had the bulk of their injuries and Justin Herbert was not fully healthy. you look at how they went back to the drawing board and they retooled a bunch of things that completely changed their offense from the way that it was playing in the first month. They're going to learn something from this. Much like I even said in their win against Cincinnati, they're going to learn something from that. So I have confidence, especially from what we know about Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter. They're going to do everything they can to correct this and have this team humming moving forward.
I agree. The last part of that voicemail before we get to the next one, Jake, was the defense not stopping a nosebleed. Yes and no. I think context matters a lot, and two of those drives,
not just the defense.
It was not just the defense. And again, like, you're going up against the best offense in the entire NFL. Period. And your offense couldn't do much, and you kept giving them the ball back. Like, you give them that many opportunities and that long of drives, and they play that efficiently, like, yeah, it's tough. But also, what has happened to the Chargers pass rush? In that game, and I understand it's tough because you want to. Going up against Lamar Jackson it's almost impossible, because if you rush him, he scampers, which you saw him do that. He gets out of everything. But you also can't just let him sit back there and have all the time in the world. And 10 total pressures as a team, according to PFF, this past week. Last week, you saw two guys each get 8. Joey Bosa.
Pardon me. Sorry. That one
10 total. 3 pressures from Bosa, 2 pressures from Derwin, 2 from Mack, and 1 from Tyir Tagovailoa and Morgan Fox. Only one of them became a sack. Only one of them became a hit. Otherwise, you didn't touch him. You can't have a defense with those guys on it and just be that absent. I know you're trying to put that picket fence up, but you can't just sit there and wait for him to dice you apart. Like, he's a 2-time MVP for a reason. But at the same time, they were going down that bend but don't break, make them kill you by 1,000 cuts, and honestly, they did. And at the end of the game, the defense had to hold on by one more busted play, Justice Hill touchdown. And bad angles, bad tackling on that one. But it is what it is. Baltimore wins. Next voicemail. Jake, got a lot of these. It's kind of rapid fire here. Here we go. Next one.
This is Jonathan. Man, just terrible game. Defense was lost. Receivers couldn't catch except for Ladd. And Herbert, again, has not had that narrative that he can't beat good teams. It's just bad. Quinton Johnston got booed out stadium. We're not contenders yet. We're pretenders right now. I'm disappointed, hurt, sad. I don't even know if I even want to watch the Atlanta game. So, where do we go from here as far as receivers going into the offseason? Go Bolts.
First of all, I would encourage you to watch the Atlanta game. If there's anything that can wash the stain of a loss away, it's a win. It's a win. Do not give up on this team when they currently sit 7-4. If you chose to give up on them during the Brandon Staley years, that's fine. That was understandable because there was nothing changing on a week in and week out basis. Do not give up on them from the standpoint that they are currently in the playoff hunt, 7-4. I get it. It hurts. Let's also not forget that Lamar Jackson has been doing the same shit that he did to the Chargers. Anytime that he plays on Monday Night Football, he is flawless on Monday Night Football. 22 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He gets up for Monday Night Football. And yeah, you would have loved to see the Chargers win for sure. But don't give up on them now. You have a better coaching staff that has a handle on this team, that can make adjustments, that can make corrections, that game plans better than previous coaching regimes that we've seen in 20 years. Don't do this. Don't be afraid to watch the game now. I encourage you to watch the game for Atlanta. As far as wide receiver situations moving forward, outside of anything that happens to pop up on the waiver wire, nothing's going to change for the rest of this season.
I think that irks people.
I know it irks people. But honestly, you're going to take a free agent off the street right now?
No, they want to see Brenden Rice or DJ Chark.
Okay. Brenden Rice officially hasn't come back from IR yet. DJ Chark has been a healthy inactive for the last 3 weeks. I'm sure that there's a reason for that. Jim Harbaugh had addressed that a little bit in his comments today, saying that it's actually the first time that I've heard him say something like this as it relates to DJ Chark, but said that he feels confident that there is a chance that DJ Chark comes back this week. Now, I'm not going to hold my breath on it because I feel like I've been holding my breath for 3 weeks waiting for DJ Chark to return.
Gotta survive.
But until something is shown to me,
hey, see, you're going with the reality here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Until something is shown to me that DJ Chark is going to set foot on the field on Sunday or against Kansas City or whatever it is, I can't sit here and say that, well, they're not out there, so don't throw it to this guy, or this guy. No, you're still going to just have to ride with what you got. And again, that's why I applaud the comments from Justin Herbert, because that type of approach, that's what true leaders do.
Yep.
He owns some of the mistakes that he made during that game, and he understood how to build his teammates after a tough game that they had to go through. Trust me when I say that will get better. Justin Herbert does not have any less of confidence in Quinton Johnston moving forward, and Quinton Johnston needs to work on things, and the quickest way that he can work on it and forget it is get out there on Sunday and make a play.
By the way, Ladd McConkey, your Los Angeles Chargers second-round wide receiver among rookies, this is according to 33rd team, amongst all rookie wide receivers, first in yards, first in explosive plays, second EPA per target, third in receiving touchdowns, second in receiving first downs, and second in yards per route run. EPA on all targets, first of all rookies.
Pretty damn good.
Ladd is cooking.
Hey guys. Quick, just wanted to remind Charger fans that games are ultimately won and lost in the trenches. Got to continue to do what the Lions and Packers have been doing for these past several years. Just got to keep on building through the trenches, D-line, O-line, and yeah, that's it.
Well, trench warfare game.
It is a trench warfare game. There's no doubt about that. I expect those reinforcements to come during the offseason. If everybody wants to look at the offensive line side, there are some pretty good free agents as it relates to the offensive guard class this year. Couple in the center class as it relates to the draft. Center class not as strong as it was last year, but you can find some decent names in there that are probably more development type players. We'll see what they ultimately end up doing with that, but I definitely think you need to find a center of the future. It's probably more likely offensively, if you're addressing the trenches, that it comes free agency now. Opposite side of the field, on the defensive side of the ball, do you have choices to pick from in this year's NFL draft? My God, because the first round is absolutely littered with interior defensive linemen. And I've said this in previous episodes that Chargers spent their first 2 picks this previous year on WR Ladd McConkey on the offensive side of the ball. I think they are going to flip the script and go high priority on addressing some of the beef or secondary or wherever else that they need to place a priority, but it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball in the high parts of this draft. It has to be, because there's some key playmakers there.
Would you entertain the Boise State running back?
Even if I wanted to, Dan, he's going to be selected way before he even sniffs the Chargers area.
Oh, you're feeling good about the Chargers then, huh? Okay. We're back. Okay, hey, we're taking lead from this voicemail that just said, look, Chargers still in a playoff picture. Chargers win and lose in the trenches. We don't know.
This is a complete side note. If Dallas does not take Ashton Jeanty, I feel like they have lost their collective minds. What is wrong with you? Yeah. What are you doing, Jerry Jones?
Yeah. For sure. Next voicemail.
Feelings, reactions. Good Lord. What's up, guys? It's Ray from San Diego. What a freaking effing game.
That's a lot of Fs.
Look. Wow. All right. 30 seconds, right? We're 7-4. We are 7-4. We started the season with 3 big losses against playoff teams, including, the big guys. And Herbert was lost, injured, along with a bunch of our guys. We're destined with injuries, right? We lost the first 3. Since then, here we are, 7-3. Today, we are 7-4. We went 1-1 against Cincinnati and Ravens, 2 playoff teams, and here we are. We are 7-4. What are we crying about? Yes. Second half, we need improvements. Yes. Is it happening? No. In Jim Harbaugh, I trust. We're going to get this figured out. Okay? We are going to.
IJHIT. In Jim Harbaugh, I trust.
Like you said, I need to put that on a shirt somewhere, Dan. Much like, I can't shake the stink. What a freaking
football game.
Frustrating football. Every F word that you could think of besides the actual expletive was in that.
Yeah. Again, perspective is key. 7-4, firmly in the playoff picture.
It is what it is.
Pretenders versus contenders. Jake, how many people honestly looked at this Chargers team prior to the start of the season and said that they were Super Bowl contenders? Let's be real. I think most people's bar for this Chargers team as a success is if they can win a playoff game.
Sure.
So, let's not switch it up now.
Let's keep going.
Don't be victims of the moment. Perspective is key. Next voicemail.
Hey Dan, hey Jake. It's the faceless fan again.
Faceless fan. Remember, he's had some spicy ones in the past. Let's see how this one goes.
If you hear my first voicemail, don't play that one because I called Greg Roman a fat fuck.
Don't worry, we won't play that voicemail. Nameless, faceless, whatever your name is. We're not going to play that one.
And start off your second voicemail by saying exactly what you said in the first voicemail. I love it.
I know that's body shaming, but I'm really just saying that I don't like him. I'm not really body shaming him. I'm just pissed that
it was his emotions. He didn't mean to say those things when he was angry or hangry.
Really, I'm just pissed because he keeps running QJ go balls, and that doesn't work.
That has not worked. No. He's not wrong.
QJ is not a contested catch receiver. If you look at the tape, which obviously Greg Roman did not look at.
Greg Roman doesn't look at any tape.
He's not a contested catch guy. On the brighter side, this is the first Chargers game I've ever watched this season with my brother, who I converted from a Rams fan.
Hey, we got one.
A few years ago, so I'm happy about that. I bought him a Ladd McConkey jersey for his
That's a good gift.
Day, so that felt pretty good. But yeah, no. On the other side, not a good game. That was a bad game. He was not happy. He was screaming and shouting, and I was, for the first time, the calm fan.
He's the calm fan? I wonder what the first voicemail sounded like.
Damn.
I'm usually the one that's screaming and shouting, but I almost went to the game, but I didn't because I was just too scared, and that's on me. But yeah, this game was hard to watch. It was a tough one. I was sad that it went the way that it did. We couldn't stop the run. That was really sad to see.
Derrick Henry's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I got a fun story about... Nah, I'm not even going to go there.
I wonder if Denzel was in there and make a difference. I'm not sure. I know he's a great run defender. It was just... Yeah, there's a lot of problems that I have with this game. Mostly Greg Roman.
Got that.
And the defense just couldn't make any stops. It was a disappointing game.
I have to stop you there. A little over 30 seconds, but I gave you some air there. I was trying to keep it out in 3 seconds, but thank you for the more PG-leaning version, I think.
Look, as it relates to Greg Roman, I personally go back to, and I've said this already in this show, I go back to after the Chargers bye. Outside of them needing to get healthy in that game, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman took a long look at what they needed to do offensively to retool to make themselves more dynamic, not so vanilla that they had been through that first month of the season. And again, the health of Justin Herbert had a lot to do with that in terms of what they were capable of doing. You know, the stats for Justin Herbert this year are not something to, they're not astronomical. They're not world breaking, but they're efficient. And his playing efficiency with this team is something to recognize. And I personally, since the bye, have loved what he's done more specifically with Justin Herbert. The freedom, the anticipation that he has shown to use his wheels when he can, to keep drives going, pushing it more downfield, not having it be so reliant on the run game. I think they want to find more balance overall. And when you're talking about a Greg Roman offense, when J.K. Dobbins gets knocked out of the game, it changes things. And especially when you're going up against a team that scores on 5 straight drives, you can't necessarily go back to the run game. You have to find a way to get yourself back into it. And the quickest way to do that, because now you're facing the time elements, is you have to throw the ball. And again, the Ravens just did everything they needed to do to perfection in that game. Their defense played tougher than what their stats were. They did not allow the Chargers to let their running game go, so it became Justin Herbert and what else? And when you have other players that are dropping passes in crucial moments, everything just starts falling apart. So putting this on Greg Roman's head, I don't feel...
I mean, there's slivers of it.
I mean,
to say it's everything.
Yes, to say that it's everything, I wouldn't say that that's it at all. I think that you go back to that first drive, hell, even the second one where they ended up scoring a field goal.
Euphoria. They're feeling great.
Justin Herbert looked great. I think they knew exactly how they were going to attack this team. And then unfortunately, when you get punched back in the mouth and they didn't stop pushing you back in the mouth, I think we can all recall the Derrick Henry double stiff arm that he laid on both Daiyan Henley and Tarheeb Still. I guarantee you Tarheeb was sitting back there because he was the second guy to be like, all right, good. Daiyan's going to tackle him. Oh, shit, he didn't tackle him.
Oh, no.
That is
what?
That is a otherworldly running back that you have to go up against, and he's done it to so many people. It's no different to think that all of a sudden he wasn't going to be able to do that to the Chargers when they only gave him 13 carries the week before. They weren't going to let that mistake happen again. And everything that the Ravens wanted to do was to perfection.
Yeah, you tip your cap. Like, again, was it frustrating? Sure. But I don't think you can argue the better team won.
They did.
Like, we helped them, but they did.
Yes.
Take your hat off. On to Atlanta. Next one.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Jake. It's Young West. Don't want to be too down on the boys tonight, but...
Certainly sounds down right about now.
Could have fooled me.
I'm recording this in the bathroom so I don't wake my wife up because I'm still pretty upset from last
It's fantastic.
Last night. Man, this was the game that I marked on the calendar. If we could beat the Ravens, who are legitimately a good team, I felt like we really had a chance to make some noise. Because outside of, I want to say, maybe Arizona, who just lost this week also, we haven't beat any good teams.
True. Denver.
All of the teams we beat have a record of 500 or below besides the Broncos. And I don't know if I still buy into their stock yet. But I wanted to ask you guys, what can we do to change our second half woes? I feel like this has been haunting the team for not only this year, but since the Brandon Staley era as well. We always come out hot, move the ball down the field, score, and then it's just, we just can't score anymore. Let me know your thoughts, boys.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any escaping that, especially over the past 2 weeks. You look at the game against Cincinnati, you look at the game obviously in Baltimore. Those are the two highest point totals that have been put up against Jesse Minter so far this season. Look, we also have to take into account that your secondary really has taken a hit over the last 2 games. Cam Hart going out in the Cincinnati game changed a lot of different things. Not having him for this Baltimore game was also huge. Eli Apple, who you elevated literally the day of, went out early in this game. So you're not dealing with the same secondary that we were dealing with a few weeks ago. Hopefully, you can have Cam Hart back for this upcoming Atlanta game. Hopefully, I'm not so sure based on Jim Harbaugh's comments today, but whenever the day comes when Asante Samuel Jr. returns, I'd like to see him as added depth to this team, given the fact that he's the veteran of this group. So there are other elements outside of just the secondary. Again, Denzel Perryman not being in this game was huge, and the pressure was not there that we had seen from the Chargers defensive line and their edge players in previous weeks. Again, I understand everybody's frustration in this, and you want to use this as a barometer to say whether or not we're contenders or pretenders. That's fine if you want to think like that. But here's what I'll say. Look at how much this offense has changed between now and the first month of the season of what it was doing. They went 2-2, but look at how, just remember how the offense was playing in that first month. Looked at how it's playing now. You look at the Cincinnati game. You look at games before that with Justin Herbert. Just look at how that's developing. As much as we want to talk about new coaching regime and everything with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, it's warranted, because I will not put any comparison with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter and the rest of the position coaches with what we had for the better part of 3.5 years, because in my opinion, there is no comparison to that. What I have faith in that circumstance, and based off of things that we've already seen, is that they go back to work and they actually make adjustments to when they end up taking hard losses like this.
Yeah, they generally win the game they should, and they're competitive in the games that they shouldn't.
Yes.
And so Atlanta.
Yes. And as far as, saying that the Chargers haven't beat anybody, well, yeah, statistically you could say that. But again, the Chargers don't make their damn schedule.
Yeah. Broncos could say the same thing, by the way.
Yes. So you play who you play. And the Chargers still have a stretch of games here over these next few weeks that you're playing some very tough playoff-bound opponents. Atlanta is, in my opinion, kind of a lot like the Cincinnati game, where they've taken some hard hits. They're currently 6-5, and they're going to be coming out after a bye wanting to get a win because they need to stay in playoff contention.
Yep.
We all know what Kansas City's about. We'll talk about that in another day. And then beyond that, you have Tampa Bay, who obviously is humming on all cylinders right now, playoff contention, and the Denver Broncos, who are still hanging in there, and Bo Nix is making a case for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's a tough stretch.
Yeah.
So let's just keep this in mind. So if there are any opportunities to bed, Baltimore wasn't to put to bed the whole narrative that they can't beat somebody. Baltimore wasn't the only game. You got 4 more opportunities coming up here.
Next one.
This is Collins from Colorado. I thought it was a good effort. Said the Ravens played mistake-free football. I think just the biggest thing for the Chargers is they just desperately need a weapon for Herbert. Ladd is really good, and I think he can be a legit superstar number 2. There's just nobody else getting separation. It just doesn't help out Herbert. So we need a bona fide number 1 to help him out, and QJ just not it. Where's Chark and B. Rice?
All right, so a couple things here. Let's go rapid fire, close this out. We still got a few more left. Chargers fans went crazy on the hotline today. So again, we're here for you, trying to get through all these. Justin Herbert and his offense, I think, needs more easy buttons. You look at that Ravens offense, and Lamar Jackson's kind of a cheat code because he's like 3 easy buttons in one. Derrick Henry, easy button. Zay Flowers, easy button. Mark Andrews, easy button. Sometimes Isaiah Likely, easy button. The Chargers got Ladd and JK. Those are probably their 2 easy buttons. And Justin. They need more. And whether that's coaching or whether that's talent needing to get added to this team, he's not wrong. They need more talent to fight amongst the contenders of the AFC. Or else they have to play a perfect football game. And in my opinion, that's the second half woes, is they have shot themselves in the foot so many times in the second half. You look at drops, penalties, boneheaded plays. miscommunication, whatever. It's just a cluster F of a second half, and you're seeing it now. 30th scoring offense. Next one, Jake.
What's up, guys? It's Oliver here from Montreal, Canada. I'm still shocked about the Quinton Johnston drop from last night.
I don't think he has Verizon or T-Mobile.
Worshiper account on Instagram, but like over my feed, I still can't believe it. Do you think they should cut Quinton Johnston? Do you think he's been given a chance? Thank you, guys. Love the show. Bolt up.
No, they should not cut Quinton Johnston. Hard stop.
No.
But I do think that there is going to be heat on him and some of the other players to have an opportunity to show up. You heard from the coach about possibly seeing DJ Chark. We'll see what happens with Brenden Rice. Maybe they bring more to Jalen Reagor. Who knows? But at some point, as a coaching staff, you're trying to win football games. In my opinion, 3 more. You got to win 3 more to get in the playoffs. What's the best way to do so? Do they really think it's throwing go balls to Quinton? Or do they have other options? We'll find out. Next one.
What's up, guys? It's Oliver here from Montreal.
Got that one. Sorry. Next one.
I just got to leave it up there. Quinton Johnston, not my favorite person. 2023 Johnson is back. So, hooray. Bolt the frick up, I guess. But
what? Wow. Okay.
Hooray! Bolt the frick up.
Look, I get everybody's upset, and I get everybody's disappointed. Not everybody. Lots of people are disappointed in Quinton Johnston. And again, to your point, Jake, he is too. And it was a tough day in the office for him, and it brings back 2023 vibes. All of that is true. But it is also true that he is vastly improved this year and has done much better this year. And on the whole, snap back, he's not bad. And I think the problem with a lot of Chargers fans, Jake, is there's a lot of black and white and binary stuff going on right now where it's like you're either great or you're a bust. The reality is he's somewhere in between. And that's okay. Like they don't all have to be Malik Neighbors, and they don't all have to be Jalen Reagor, previous Jalen Reagor, where people would say that's a bust. Sometimes they take time, and Quinton Johnston is developing and improving. Did you see flashbacks? Sure, but let's let this thing play out. You give credit and criticism where it's due. Criticism is due, but don't just chuck him off the boat, walk the plank. To your point, develop, but there are contingency plans. And as a coaching staff, I think it's your responsibility to kind of weigh those and figure out what's best. Last one, Jake. 15 voicemails on the hotline. But I get it. That's why we're here.
That's right.
Charge leads the hotline. Let's hear it.
30 seconds instant reaction to tonight's loss. Very disappointing. But what this proves to me is that we're right there. This is the beginning. And Justin Herbert needs some quality, top-notch receivers to complement his game.
T. Higgins, maybe?
And I'll just leave it at that. And, man, those officials were horrible. Ow.
Look, again, anybody who is talking about the immediate change in receivers, you're not getting it.
Maybe next year.
But trust me, I don't think as much as the priority that is going to be still put around Justin Herbert in terms of overall protection and this offensive line, which if you were to ask me right now, what would I rather have in terms of Justin Herbert's improvement? I'm still putting him in the offensive line. If you were to ask me between that and a wide receiver, yes, I am. What has helped me show that? It's Jim Harbaugh and it's Joe Alt. And for the standpoint of the play that you've seen throughout the interior in the years to say, yes, you need an upgrade in those type of roles.
It's only so many picks and money you had.
Correct. But the Chargers have an opportunity this year, which is something that was not afforded to them last year because of the cap situation that they were in with restructures and having to sacrifice Keenan Allen and Mike Williams due to contract numbers. They're going to have an opportunity to go out and improve their team at that particular position, whether it be the free agency class or the NFL draft. I believe that you will see something. Where is it going to be? I might spoil it for you right now, but I don't believe it's going to be in the first round. Sorry.
On offensive weapon?
Yes. You got to put some focus on that defensive side of the ball, whether it's on the line, middle of the field, corner. You have to do that in my opinion.
So we'll close out the show with this. And again, we'll get into the next upcoming preview matchup with the Falcons here in a bit, the next episode. But Jake, if you were Joe Ortiz as of right now, and I'm putting you on a spot here a little bit, but you got $70+ million in cap space. I think you're top 6 or 7 in the NFL right now for cap space going into this offseason. You're not spending the draft capital, at least first round.
Sure.
Are you spending the monetary capital? Are you spending the big money on a receiver?
Well,
like
$75 million as it currently stands right now, but let's
bunch of folks you have to bring back.
That's the kicker. Rashawn Slater's contract time has arrived at the end of this season, and you have a number of different guys that you brought in on one-year deals that have really played well for you. So you have some more tough decisions to make. So depending on who you select to bring back is also going to change that. If it's me, the free agent class, I know a lot of people go to immediately to T. Higgins, and that would be a nice addition for the Chargers if they were able to do that.
Such easy,
But I guarantee you're going to find yourself in a bidding war because a lot of people probably would want a T. Higgins on their roster as well. So
that seems like such an easy. I know the money's a lot, and I do see Jim Harbaugh spending big bucks on a receiver. I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough to think that way.
It's
tough to think that way.
But if you think about whether it's through the draft or through free agency, a bona fide wide receiver 1 unlocks this offensive weapon stack rank, I think, a ton. But look, there's a lot of voicemails, a lot of feelings. Chargers fans were all going through it. We're going through it together. Chargers fall to 7-4. But again, you're still 7-4.
7-4.
Still 7-4. They are in the playoffs right now. I think if you were Chargers fans prior to the season, going into week 13, if you asked, can I be 7-4 and 2 games up in the division or in the AFC for a wild card spot? You would all take it.
Where were the Chargers in week 13 the previous 3 years?
I think they were 5-7 because they ended up going 5-11.
Mm-hmm. Just saying, I'd rather be in the position that we're currently at right now. And now we're talking about this being done without Keenan Allen, without Mike Williams, without Austin Eckler. And you've still found a way to do it. That's where coaching comes in. And that's where I feel confident that there are going to be improvements made both from player and coach alike moving forward.
Jay, I think it's going to do it. We had a lot here. This is more of feelings. Our therapy session is over. You can bill us. We'll bill you, actually.
Yeah. I feel better.
Do you?
I feel a lot better. Trust me.
I will say, though, and maybe I'm in the minority, and maybe this is the optimistic Dan coming back.
Oh, look at this.
But, I genuinely wasn't as heartbroken as I was kind of thinking I would be.
Same.
For that loss. Going into it, one of the voicemails said it. They needed to split one of these two with Baltimore and Cincinnati, and they did that. They were playing with house money, in my opinion. They lost to a better team. You saw why they lost. It was pretty clear. Are they Baltimore right now? No. Could they be? Maybe. But did you honestly expect them to be Baltimore this year? Everyone hope that they can win. Sure, hopium only goes so far. Stay in the reality. The Chargers team is a good team right now. Are they great? Not yet. And that's okay. It's okay. These things take time. Like the last voicemail said, it's just the beginning. Chargers fan, it's just the beginning. Jake, anything else? Any parting words before we head out of here and get fat on Thanksgiving?
Go out, everybody. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. It's going to be a nice football weekend.
Hopefully.
If you feel the need to forget about this game by consuming turkey, by all means, do it.
Tryptophan.
Yes. some pie, whatever kind you select and whatever type is your type of fancy, by all means do it. But let's move forward. Tough Monday night loss, I get it, but let's move forward. Let's have a good holiday weekend. Let's go on to Atlanta, which Dan and I will be back talking about later on this week. And let's get back in the win column.
We're on to ATL for sure. Thanksgiving. Jake, grateful for you. Thankful for all the fans. Thankful for everybody that is out there. Jake, this is year 5 of us doing it. And proud, grateful to have you as one of my best friends. And enjoy Thanksgiving, man. This has been fun.
You as well, sir.
All right. Fans, folks in the chat, everybody, thank you so much for all that you do. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday break. And we will talk to you here later in the week to discuss the upcoming Atlanta game. Chargers looking to go 8-4. But until then, you can find Jake Hefner on X at Jake T. Hefner, myself at DNW Sports. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time after Thanksgiving is over on the next Chargers Unleashed.